Hey everybody, this is Lord of the Jimmy. Hope you're all doing well. Um, I just felt like making a video to talk about Roger Ebert. He unfortunately passed away yesterday after a really very long, horrible battle with cancer. And I don't really know what I'm going to say about him, really. I just feel like talking, you know? I mean, that's what Roger Ebert inspired a lot of us on the internet to do. I mean, the thing is, anybody who grew up in the 80s and 90s remembers Siskel and Ebert. I mean, even if you didn't watch them, you remember. I mean, how many movie posters or reviews or just anything movie related do we see the phrase two thumbs up from Siskel and Ebert? I mean, they coined that phrase. They were the most successful uh, movie critics of all time. Certainly the most famous duo. I mean, I guess you could also say there's Leonard Maltin and, some of the Gene Shalit. I don't know. But it is there's sort of a feeling of emptiness now that Roger Ebert is gone, and it's really the end of an era. I mean, somebody had said that to me. Honestly, I think the era ended with Gene Siskel. Gene Siskel passed away in 1999, unfortunately, and ironically, he also had cancer, and he unfortunately, I don't know how long he suffered. I know he checked into the hospital a year earlier, and you can see if you watch some of those Siskel and Ebert reviews later on, you can see Gene's he's not there. He's really going through some pain. But with Roger Ebert, it was a much darker story to see him, you know, deal with cancer. Because when Ebert and Roper came out, which I'm sure a lot of you remember Ebert and Roper, for a while it was like Roger wasn't on. It was like, well, what happened to him? And we later found out that he had cancer and that he lost his voice. They had to take his voice out and a good amount of his jaw, and he couldn't speak anymore, which is weird. Roger Ebert, maybe even more so than Gene, had one of the most unique voices in movies. And he wasn't even in movies. He wasn't an actor. Well, he wrote Beyond the Valley of the Dolls, if any of you have ever seen that. It's bad. Beyond the Valley of the Dolls. Yes, Roger Ebert wrote that. It's bad. I mean, I guess for some people, it's kind of a guilty pleasure and it's kind of fun, but yeah. But anyway, getting to I'm really doing this as a stream of consciousness thing, so I really don't even know what I'm talking about. I didn't write any sort of tribute for him or anything. I just watched Doug Walker's tribute to Roger Ebert, which was very moving. It was very eloquent, and I guess this is me just trying to put in my 2 cents with Roger Ebert. Me, Will Navison, and a few others did a riff of The Critic, which I'll favor it at some point when Will puts it up. The episode of The Critic that has Siskel and Ebert in it, and we talked for a long time about it. It was very interesting. So I'll let you guys know when we put that up. What can I really say about? What do I know for sure, as Gene Siskel used to say? Roger Ebert. I never met the guy, although my dad did. My dad, who's dad of the Jimmy, you can see he played a couple characters on Super Mario Guy. He's Jack Dumbo and I'm forgetting the name of my own show. Awesome Studios. He's the executive. He worked with Siskel and Ebert, and I'm actually going to try to get together with him and see if I can just have him tell his story, maybe on his channel, and I'll favorite it and let you guys know. But he worked with Siskel and Ebert on a project called At the Promos, I think. And it was basically like a Siskel and Ebert kind of show, but they would review the best commercials or the best promos of the year. which is interesting. And he said it was always a really good show, and he worked with Siskel and Ebert, and his my favorite story about that is when he went to go talk to him. They wanted to talk to him about what they were going to do and everything, and they were going to meet at these elevators in their hotel they were staying at, and he met up with Gene Siskel, of course, for those of you who I keep saying Gene, and because he refers to him as Gene and Roger, and most of us would say Siskel and Ebert. But he sees Gene, and they're waiting for Roger. They're like, well, where is Roger? Finally, Roger just comes over. He doesn't acknowledge my dad. He just goes right to Siskel, and he goes, we're supposed to meet at the other elevators. We're supposed to meet at those elevators. And Gene goes, no, we were supposed to meet at these elevators. No, we were supposed to meet at those elevators. I specifically remember. We were going to meet at those elevators. No, Roger, we were going to meet at this. I'm trying to do my Siskel and Ebert impressions, but not very good at them. And they just argued about the goddamn elevators for 10 minutes. And my dad's just sitting there like, well, what do I do? And that's why Siskel and Ebert worked so well. They were these two real, I guess you could almost say they were dicks. I mean, they were so opinionated and so arrogant, and they were just totally convinced that they were right, that they were just the perfect chemistry. It was like an Abbott and Costello routine. It was like any of these great duos that we grew up watching. I mean, they offset each other perfectly, but they were intelligent. I mean, when they spoke, they were so incredibly intelligent with everything they said about the movies. They didn't just, and Doug Walker mentioned they were very personal about it. Roger Ebert would really say, I remember something from my high school that this picture reminded me of, and Gene would say, oh, okay. Oh, well, I don't know what that has to do with the picture. They just had those things. And the Benji the Hunted thing, if anybody's ever seen that, that's a classic. It's Gene Siskel. It was this ridiculous movie about a dog that takes care of these cubs. It's like tiger cubs. I don't remember what they were. And he has to save them from bears and stuff like that. And, Gene was just like, yeah, this is kind of dumb. It's not really much of a movie. And I never actually saw it. Maybe it's okay. I don't know. And Roger just went off on him. He's like, oh, you're absolutely wrong. In context, this is a great movie. I think that it's perfect, for kids. And that's why I think it's so good. And Gene's like, no, Roger, you're wrapping yourself in the flag of the children, and I'm saying, go see the Black Stallion instead. Now, I'm not wrapping myself in, you're the sophisticated. I don't remember what they say, but they're just yelling at each other. And meanwhile, Roger Ebert goes and talks about how he didn't like Full Metal Jacket. He didn't like Full Metal Jacket. That's one of the best war movies of all time. I mean, Jesus Christ. And Gene Siskel's like, what? Are you high? But, that's the thing. I mean, Roger Ebert was not afraid to give his opinion. And, I mean, I don't know any other, it's like with the Cop and a Half movie with Burt Reynolds, and he gave it a thumbs up, and Gene Siskel just goes, wow, where's your red suit and beard, Santa? You just gave them a gift. And he was like the only critic who said that, but he liked it and he stuck to it. And that was the thing about them. I don't know how much of their show was put on, because according, they said, that was the first time they ever heard the reviews. But according to my dad, he said when they did the show, they actually talked about, like, well, what did you think of this promo? Well, I thought it was okay. Well, I kind of liked it. Okay, so you be the negative, I'll be the positive. So they might have exaggerated that stuff. But even if they did, I mean, they did it very well. And it was a lot of fun to see these guys talk to each other. So anyway, well, I'm talking about Siskel and Ebert so much, but that's really part of Roger Ebert's legacy, and it seems like he's like he always kind of had a problem with it when Gene was still alive, but after Gene had died, he really realized what a powerful legacy it was, because we grew up watching them. I mean, that in the early days before we had internet, we had no way of no, we couldn't go on the internet and just watch, reviews or read review. I mean, I guess we could maybe read reviews when the internet came out, but even then we couldn't watch anything or hear people's opinions. We had to see what was on TV, and they were the dominating forces on TV. And it was also, there was two people, so you could hear two differing opinions about them, and if both of them liked it, chances were it was, well, no, they both liked plenty of movies that were bad, but that's besides the point. Um, yeah, so when that's what we grew up watching. I just it's funny. I was just talking about how we're maybe gonna go see Jurassic Park in 3D, and I remember wanting to go see that. I was a little kid when Jurassic Park came out, and I was like, oh, I want to see Jurassic Park. I want to see the dinosaurs. And I think my parents watched Siskel and Ebert, and they told them, well, this is not really a movie for kids. You might want to prepare them, because it's very intense. I mean, because it's got dinosaurs, it's got some scary action sequences, and it has Jeff Goldblum, and you have to really prepare your child for all these very scary things, and rightly so. I mean, because it was an intense movie. I remember it. Um, and then, unfortunately, Gene Siskel died in 1999, and Roger Ebert kept going with the show. He got Richard Roper on, and but they were okay. But you could really see the magic was lost. I mean, but Roger Ebert just kept going, and unfortunately, he too was diagnosed with cancer, and it was very. It was. I have to admit, with Gene, yeah, we saw him at the end and he didn't look right and he looked like he was much slower and stuff, but we'll always remember Gene as the way he was with his bald head and it's very weird now to think that hopefully now we'll always remember Roger as he was um, before they took his jaw and his voice. But it was very surreal to see this guy who we grew up watching him and listening to his voice, and the fact that he lost it. It was so dumbfounding to me. It was weird, but you really have to admire the guy for, he kept going. He kept writing his reviews, and I kept reading them. I mean, just last year, I would go see movies, and I looked up his reviews. I'm like, well, what did he think of this movie? What did he think of that movie? And not that I wasn't great with them, but, you know, he, you really, the man loved movies, and you can't take that away from him. And the fact that this man has left a legacy in the movie business to equal any great director, any great writer, any great actor, or any pioneer of special effects. I mean, this man is known all over the world for being a movie critic. And I don't think, speaking of like the nostalgia critic and the angry video game nerd, and even my rants and, stuff I do, I don't think any of us realize just how much of an impact he probably had and how much he inspired people who wanted to voice their opinions about this stuff. And, I'm very glad that he did. I don't know if he did that directly. And, yeah, it's just. I really don't know how to feel about it. It's, I was just, I've been really kind of on a 90s kick lately because I'm working on a band right now that will basically cover a bunch of 90s songs, your Nirvanas and your Soundgardens and your Pearl Jams and blah, 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 blah. And I've just been thinking back to, there's a lot of people right now who are saying, oh, the 90s were so great. And they were. they also kind of sucked. There's a really funny thing. Somebody had uh, I was watching the video for Tonight Tonight by the Smashing Pumpkins, and somebody had written, "Oh, the '90s were so great," and during the '90s, there was art, music was art, and this was the greatest decade for music, and blah blah blah. And then somebody replied, one of the funniest things I ever saw. He said, "It's funny because that exact same year that Tonight Tonight came out, the number one song on the charts was the Spice Girls, followed closely by the Macarena." If any of you can remember the Macarena, the Gangnam Style of the '90s, I guess, or I don't know what. Oh God, just ugh. So the point of the story is that I don't even know what the point I'm talking. I'm supposed to be talking about Roger Ebert, and I don't even know. No, but I'm just thinking about the values and the things that I cared about growing up, and things that I always thought would be there. I always thought that Siskel and Ebert would always, would exist for a long time. They would always be there to give us their opinions on movies and tell us, yeah, thumbs up, I suggest you see it. Thumbs down, I suggest you don't see it. Which was an interesting way. Like, some people would probably say, "Whoa, that's a vague way. You give thumbs up or thumbs down. That's a stupid way to review a movie." But like Roger Ebert one time said, it's like if you were going to recommend a picture to somebody, would you say, should I go see the movie? Yes, you should go see this movie. Or no, it's terrible. You shouldn't see it. And then you do, of course, have the middle. It's like, well, it was good. It's like I just saw that Oz the Great and Powerful movie, and it's like, do I recommend it? Well, yes and no. It's a thumb sideways. I don't know. So, you got those kind of things. But, Siskel and Ebert would do that. They would say, well, the movie is good, but, I don't know if I can recommend it. Gene Siskel would probably be more dismissive of the film if it didn't reach a certain level of perfection. Well, actually, I take that back. Roger had his share of weird moments that were just like out of left field. Like, talking about Full Metal Jacket. Full Metal Jacket is not as good as Doctor Strangelove. Therefore, he doesn't recommend the picture. You're going to compare it with one of the greatest movies of all time? Or, he would, just like Back to the Future 3. I remember, Gene Siskel saying, well, it's not as good as the first one, but it's fun. It's, it is what it is. And Roger having this big tangent on like, yeah, but, Gene, it was, if it was just a Western, it wouldn't be a very good film. And Gene's like, well, but it's not just a Western, Roger. Yes, but if it was just a Western, you wouldn't think it was very good, would you? But it isn't only a Western. It's just, oh, they were so much fun. If you guys can, just go on, I think there's a Siskel and Ebert site, siskelandebert.org, I think. I could be wrong about that. I apologize if I'm not. And just watch a bunch of their reviews. They're a lot of fun to watch. I mean, just, there's so many great moments that they had. So when we were reviewing The Critic and we were just talking for like an hour, I hope Will maybe puts up something of all of us talking. And we really, somebody, I forget who it was who said it, but it was like, with Roger Ebert's death, it's like a part of you has died. It's like a part of your childhood, if you want, or just, just like anything. It's like, I guess, kind of like when Walter Cronkite died, but, for my generation, we didn't really grow up with Walter Cronkite, so it's a little difficult to relate to someone of that caliber passing away, but for, guys who grew up in the 50s and 60s and 70s, even I guess the early 80s, Walter Cronkite was a big deal. And Roger Ebert was a big deal for us growing up in the 80s and 90s. I mean, we watched Roger Ebert. We read his columns. And it's also what I love about Roger Ebert is that he was intelligent. And I think that's something that I really miss in today's society. I don't want to get into a whole old man comment. Back in my day, we were smarter and we used to watch Siskel and Ebert. My old man complex. I'm 27 years old and I feel like I'm 50. But no, you get to. I remember there was that short-lived show on PBS that Roger Ebert put out just like a few years ago with these two young critics who were fucking stupid. And it was just like, there was no passion for film. It was like nitpicking movies, and it's like these two young people who, when you're young, you can know a lot about movies, but someone like Roger Ebert, who just grew up in the golden era of films, he grew up watching old serials from the 50s. I mean, he's a film historian. He knows everything about films. Gene Siskel, too. You're talking about two guys who were very qualified to talk about films. And it's going to be very difficult without Roger Ebert to tell us, oh, you should see this film, even if he's wrong, which he tends to be wrong a lot. So, but that's his job, he's given his opinion, and we liked listening to his opinion. He was very personal about it. And yeah, I guess, well, I've been talking a lot about Roger Ebert. I don't know if anything I said is that interesting to anybody, or if anybody's even watching this video. I hope, if you guys have anything to share about, Roger Ebert, or, I know there's a lot of younger viewers who watch this, and I say, check out some of their reviews. See what these guys were all about, because they really were a very important part of our culture at a time when the internet didn't exist, and I hope that Roger Ebert continues to inspire a legacy and a generation of people who make an art out of being a critic. I mean, obviously Doug Walker, of That Guy with the Glasses, has really made something very funny and comical out of, and he really has been very influenced by Siskel and Ebert, I think. I could definitely see he was very honored by the fact that when he made his tribute video, Roger Ebert tweeted and said this is one of his favorite, one of the best Siskel and Ebert tributes. I like that Roger Ebert always gave Gene Siskel his due. And now, I don't believe in heaven or hell or really any of that stuff, but or whatever happens to us when we die, Gene Siskel and Roger Ebert are now joined, wherever that is, if there is anything. So, hey, if there is a heaven, maybe Gene Siskel and Roger Ebert are now up in heaven reviewing God's work, I guess. There's somebody. I hope Will puts all this stuff up in his the critic thing when we did, because I apologize to whichever one of you guys came up with this, but somebody said, I think Gene and Roger are reviewing God's work. They're reviewing like the platypus, and Roger's now going, well, Gene, I really don't care for the platypus. It's such a weird animal, and it just doesn't seem like it contributes anything to society. I mean, what is the point of the platypus? Is it a fish? Is it a duck? What is it? I don't know what it is. I give it thumbs down. And Gene is there, and he can go, well, Roger, I think that the platypus is a very good animal, and I like the fact that it's unique. You don't know if it's a fish or a duck or whatever it is, you know? And I think it does contribute to society, as everything contributes to society. I give it a thumbs up. No, Gene, you're totally wrong about this. I mean, you're completely basing this just on your own opinions about, you don't understand the finer things about nature, because if you did, you would understand that this animal doesn't make any sense. Oh, Roger, like you know anything about nature, you know? I think the only thing you know about is how to order from McDonald's. Yeah, well, I think the only thing you know about is trying to look on the internet to see if there's any new things for your bald head. Yeah, maybe you'll find that. They actually did this. So look up Siskel and Ebert Uncensored. Oh man, is that a Siskel and Ebert Uncensored? They start off just attacking each other, telling a lot of very funny jokes, and then they go into a long rant about how much they hate Protestants. It's very fun to watch. So, anyway, let me wrap this up because what are we doing? 27 minutes. Jesus Christ. Um, Roger Ebert, one of the most famous and creative film critics of all time. We have lost a great man for the movies. I hope that his legacy lives on. I My thoughts go out to his family, Chaz, and I rest in peace, Roger, and thanks for sharing your opinion with us for so many years. You know, you were wrong a lot of the time, but we love you, man. Roger Ebert, I give you 2 thumbs up. Just let me have that. Come on, the man passed away. Okay, just let me be a little schmaltzy. All right, you know. Anyway, rest in peace, Roger, and thank you for everything.